May 27th, and I'd like to call to order this board meeting of the Lincoln Parish Library Board of Control. May I have approval for the agenda? A motion to approve?
I approve the agenda, approved as read, I'm sorry.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Any discussions, questions? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Motion carries. Anyone from the public who would like to make a comment? I see no one. So we're going to move to our next item on the agenda, which happens to be the reason for which we're here. This is the only item on the agenda tonight, and we are here to interview the applicants for the position of vacancy on the Library Board of Control to replace Dr. David Howard. We have two applicants, and we're very so pleased to have you be with us. We thank you for taking the time out to come and to share with us your thoughts and to hear some of the things that we'd like to hear from you. So who would like to be first? Mr. Edward?
Certainly.
If you don't mind.
Not at all.
Like I said, we're so interested, and we're so glad that you're interested in becoming a member of the board. And we'd just like to have a little fireside chat with you today, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Okay, I'd ask the board members too, when you get ready to ask your questions, would you be so kind as to introduce yourselves and let them know who you are? We're going to start over here with Ms. Humphries.
Hi, how are you today? I'm Diana Humphries. I've read your resume. Just tell us in a nutshell, why do you want to be on the Lincoln Parish Library Board?
Well, several reasons. I suppose the most salient reason is that I wouldn't be who I am without libraries.
Edward,
Yes,
you have old people here. Speak up, young man.
of course. I wouldn't be who I am without libraries. I don't know if you've been given a copy of my resume, but I hold a couple of English degrees, and you don't get those without going into the library and not coming out for several years. And if you're in a library for very long, then pretty soon you need to find the stuff you actually want to read. And you're going to need help, especially once you get into a large collegiate library like the Hesburgh at Notre Dame. And maybe y'all have seen pictures of it with Touchdown Jesus, who you can actually see between the goalposts in the stadium. So there are about 14 floors of books in Hesburgh, and in a place like that, you have subject matter librarians. I took a degree in medieval English, so there's a reading room dedicated to the medieval collection. It's probably the best medieval books collection in the U.S., certainly maybe on the continent. They kind of duel between them and University of Toronto. In any event, subject matter librarians were put here by the ages. They are endlessly patient, and they know so much about their area of expertise. If you look at any award-winning academic, you're going to find a long train of subject matter librarians behind them who enable that whole thing. So I've always valued libraries as a resource, both academically and then also the more mundane but just as important sense that public libraries provide to people in their communities. Because it's not just the books, it's the internet availability, which is huge if you are in a rural area and you can't get the internet at home, or if you can't afford the internet because it is expensive. For the various kinds of public records that may be kept in the collection, for the genealogies, for the online collections that allow you to take books out on Kindle. It's such an important resource that I was appalled when the millage did not pass. This is a really serious problem, and that was what first made me realize, well, maybe I should involve myself in the community in this way. I don't think anybody wants a world with fewer libraries.
Thank you.
Okay, next.
Mary Jo Cooper, and I do appreciate your experience in the academic world, but I wonder how you see yourself working with this board in a public library setting, and what you might have to offer to the Lincoln Parish Library.
Well,
And I do have your resume, and I see all of your technical background that you do have for that, but just other instances that you might be able to address.
all right, well, I know that the library board is currently looking at a number of different possible revisions to the policy and procedure of the library. A number of things like that. You were trying to do some outreach to the community with marketing and PR. I think that my work history speaks directly to a number of those things. One of the first things that I did after I stopped being a teacher was go to work in a corporate setting for Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Louisiana as a contractor. There I wrote a number of business type documents. It was mostly sort of an instruction manual for their claims processing system. And of course I wasn't the only one, but when you're working as a technical writer, often there's a certain amount of business writing associated with that, where you have to look at the top level business rule, like, okay, well, this facility is open from this time to this time on these days of the week. So that top level policy, how does that translate down into staffing appropriately to make that opening and closing happen on time and without fail every day that it's supposed to? How do you decide who is going to be the key holder for that? It goes all the way down to the actual, turning the locks and opening the doors stuff. But in between, there are all kinds of things like, okay, well, how do we avoid having people drop their kids off in our skate park and leave them alone? Because we're not really a daycare, so yes, people are still probably going to do that. But if it's officially against policy, then maybe we should make it clear and make sure that the policy is someplace where people can read it, so on and so forth. So I think that would be certainly somewhere I can help. Additionally, I've had to wear the marketing hat for a number of small businesses, and so I can certainly help suggest resources that might streamline the management of the library's public-facing social media. So, for example, there is a tool, or at least there was when I was still doing this for a living, there was a tool called Hootsuite, which aggregates the management of Facebook, Twitter, I think Instagram. I don't know all of the ones that it covers, but it's one place where you log in and then you control all of your messaging through that one panel. So if you want something to go out on Facebook, and then 5 minutes later, yes. So I'm conversant with how to do that, and then also when you're in a small shop like Gem Design Build, where I was the marketing guy, you have to also take responsibility for some of the messaging that goes out the door. So you want to make sure that your messages say what you mean them to say, and not what people might construe them to say. And I think that that's always something you have to be very careful about. That is, so when you, for example, say there's a new policy in the library, you have to handle that delicately, because you don't want people to think that you are singling someone out. Because A, it's bad to have the public think that you are picking on a person. but also, when it looks as if you are singling someone out, then that potentially even creates liability for the library. That is, you know, if somebody says, well, this policy is clearly meant to pick on, people who love ghosts, then what you say will come up as evidence in court. So you have to be really careful about having a review policy in place so that when you put something out, you've checked it out through a responsible party who's going to be on the hook when there's a problem, and you have to say, okay, well, did you check this out with your legal department? Who was your legal counsel, and what did they say about this? So, I don't know, I think that I could be helpful there, even if only in the sense that I'm paranoid about that kind of thing, and I'm going to ask, what would the legal counsel say about this? Hopefully before there's a problem.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'm going to skip over to Ms. Sandra.
My name is Sandra Dupree. If you were selected to be on the Board of Trustees, what would be your biggest concern, and would you work as a team member in 2 sentences?
I would have to work as a team member because the library board of control is a democratic body. Everything that is done here is by vote. So there is no way for me to push my way or the highway here.
Okay.
So I think that's one.
What's your biggest concern?
My biggest concern right now is whether the board's proposed millage is going to pass in October. But I do not think that that is anything that I can meaningfully affect, in the sense that it's going on the ballot and the voters will do what the voters do. At most, I can try to be an advocate for what the library has to offer.
Okay.
But, and this is a big but, I am very leery of the library's board of control becoming a public-facing institution that
Say that again.
I'm leery of the board of control becoming the sort of public-facing institution that makes headlines in the newspapers. I want the focus to be on the library.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Richard?
Richard Dirk, Police Chief. What are your ideas that you might have that would help pass this tax in October for you? What suggestions do you have?
I think that one of the things that would help would be for the library to reach out across as many channels as it has available to it, be it social media or by running ads in the Daily Leader, although I think we would have to be careful about budgetary aspects of that, because it's not like there's income coming in the doors. But any means that we have to allow the library to reach out and say, this is what we do for you. And this is one of the things that will go away if the millage is not passed. I think that it's a transactional way of looking at why would you vote for a millage? Well, here's what you get for what you're going to pay.
Can I expand on that? Just answer again. Are you familiar with previous information that was out there for the first time around? How would we change that? Or I guess my question is, how would you suggest we improve on that this time?
I think that one of the ways that you could do better in the future is that the library to be frank, did not reach me. I vote anyway, so I showed up on, I think it was December the 8th. And I voted for the millage. But I didn't know it was going to be on the ballot, other than I showed up and it was on the ballot and I'm in favor of libraries. So anything that can be done to increase, for example, who follows the library's Facebook page would help. Anything that can get people to follow the library on Twitter would help. And there are a number of easy ways to do that. You could generate a QR code, which is kind of like a square barcode. Your phone will subscribe you to a Twitter feed based on one of those. And then put them anywhere that you can. Stick them in stairwells at the university, stick them in stairwells at the courthouse. Anywhere that people might pass by, see it, and say, oh, well, look, let me see what this is about. Again, it's always nice if you have a carrot that you can offer people. So if there is something that you can offer as part of the sweepstakes, you know, a giveaway of some kind, where you sign up to follow the Facebook page or the Twitter page or whatever, and in return you get something. You get a library fine forgiven, you get a goodie bag, whatever. Then that kind of thing also helps. And then once you've got them subscribed, they will start to see your social media messages, and they will get the message about, okay, well, you have hotspots available from the library that you can take home with you. And all of a sudden, you have, at least temporarily, Wi-Fi in the house. And I think that a lot of people would love to know about that, but you have to get them to give you a channel to speak about that.
Okay, thank you,
I
Richard.
hope that answered the question.
Amy?
We've covered a lot of ground here, so I don't have I just have a very specific question. Do you have any experience in election campaigns?
I do not.
Okay, and I don't either, so this is why, that's my question, okay? But thank you, and thank you for sharing. I've taken a lot of information. Oh, I'm Amy Miller, by the way. Nice to meet you.
Charles?
My name's Charles. We won't even go to the last name, you'll never get it right. It just, anyway, you've given good information so far, and I appreciate that. Have you reviewed the library budget as it exists now, the revised, based on the tax not being renewed?
I would not care to cite you figures from it, but I have had a look.
I was just wondering if you had any ideas regarding the budget. You mentioned, you sort of skirted around that a little bit. Do you see things that, first of all, maybe we're eliminating that shouldn't be, or that we are over budgeting? I just wondered if you reviewed that.
I would not like to cast aspersion on the board's decisions, because there are no good answers when you have to cut a good chunk of money out of the budget. And so anything that I say, take it as a minor quibble rather than my saying, well, this was a solid mistake and it was obvious and you should have done it. I would have wanted to hold on to more of the staff who came in through the reduction in force, just because not having enough bodies to throw at the operation of the library is a problem. It has come up at the last several meetings that the event center is a potential source of revenue. It is a resource that's desirable in the community, and it's also painful for the library staff to operate it, because somebody has to be here to close down, and it interferes with their working hours, and it's a mess. And there's no way to make it not a mess, because there are only so many people. So, again, I don't know that you had a good alternative, because everything in the budget is there because it's necessary. But it does seem to me that this is a place where you're definitely feeling the pain we cut this and now we kind of, well, we needed that resource.
I have one other, may I? Other than the tax, which is looming over us, we all are very aware.
Yes.
What do you see for libraries in general? Because we've got a lot of attitudes out there that we don't need the library, everybody's got the internet now, which is so bogus, but still, that's the attitude. And I'm sorry, I think I'm answering my question. What do you see? The bigger problems, maybe one or two facing libraries other than the Lincoln Parish tax in general?
I see a few problems. One of the things that people don't talk about much is that libraries are one of the very few remaining public spaces where people can be and not be told to go away. And when this comes up, I think that the usual objection to keeping things the way they are is that, oh, well, this means that homeless people will come into the library and stick around, especially if the weather is really, really hot or really, really cold. And although that's true, it's also, it's one of those things where it's heartless and you understand why people are being heartless, but it doesn't make you feel better about it. There are very few places where people can just be, where no one's going to say, why are you here? Do you have business here? And if not, why don't you move along? And that's always been something that I've appreciated about public libraries. It's a place where if you just want to sit and be quiet and not bother anybody, you can be there and do that. But also, you know, it's true, if you can afford broadband internet access, then yeah, you can get almost anything you want through the internet. But if you want to have broadband internet access and you're not within the city limits of Ruston, then Lincoln Parish is really underserved. My in-laws have satellite internet. Actually, I think they moved to cellular. But it's not really satisfactory. It's not broadband the same way that cable internet is. And I think that the library really is a vital resource if you live somewhere out in the country and you just can't have modern broadband internet that's worth the name. Full stop. You get rid of a library and you're making it harder for people to go look for jobs, to apply for financial aid to school, to put in a FEMA application when 2 hurricanes run over your town in the same year. I mean, yeah, I was lucky. I have solid internet at home, but what if I hadn't? I'd have been camped out in here filling out every form that I could.
Okay, thank you. I've already introduced myself. I'm Augusta Clark. My question that I was about to ask, Richard kind of took a little bit. I just would like to hear from you one idea specifically that you can tell the board that you will contribute to helping us get that tax passed. Just one.
Well, I think that when is the library's sale?
October 9th.
The books,
Oh, I'm sorry, June 3rd through 5.
June 3rd through 5th. I think that certainly I would mention to every patron who came in front of me while I was volunteering for the sale. Now remember, in October, on the 9th, there is a millage election. And I hope that you'll vote yes on it, because otherwise this library is going away.
Thank you so much.
I think that's the biggest thing that you can do anytime, is tell people with your mouth.
Okay. I would like to come back and ask Marcy, the interim director, if she will propose a question also for the applicant.
You and I had a little candid conversation outside outside about staff. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Mr. Charles, can you hear me?
Thank you.
We had a candid conversation outside about staff. And I would like to know, as a director and someone who's worked behind the desk in many capacities, how hands-on, outside of just a monthly board meeting, could you be, or would you be willing to be as far as a face of the group?
I'm willing to be as hands-on as the library staff wants me to be. My impression from conversations with other librarians that I've been with has been that this board is extraordinarily hands-on. I'm not going to ask whether that's welcome or not. These are unsettled and uncertain times. So what's okay right now may not be what would be all right after the village passes, and hopefully we're back to business somewhat more as usual. So I think I'm going to stand with, I'm here to try to get the staff the resources that it needs to make this place a success.
All right, we like it.
Thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much. We all appreciate it. I want to ask you a question about the barcode reader, all right? Look at that. Thank you so much, okay?
Thank you, Edward.
It was a pleasure speaking to you.
Okay, Bill Jones. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm glad to be here. My name is Bill Jones. I'm 73 years old. I was born here, graduated from Ruston High School in 65, Tech in 69, LSU Law School in 74. I've lived 65 of my 73 years here. All of my lifetime, there's been a good library in Lincoln Parish. Just like we've had 2 universities and good public school systems. They all go together. And that's why I applied to be a board member. I have some business experience, I have some legislative experience, and I'm practicing law. I think I've got some skills that would be helpful to the board and would be helpful in conducting this campaign that we have to run to get the library funded. I don't have a resume. I should have brought you a resume, but I haven't done one in 30 years, so I just told you my resume. I believe in libraries from elementary school through high school. We came to the Lincoln Parish Library. Obviously at Tech had its own library. That's where we spent our library time. It's important to this community. The idea of Lincoln Parish with 2 state universities not having a public library is what motivated me to put my application in. We simply cannot allow that to happen. With that said, I'll be glad to entertain any questions.
We accept your virtual resume. And we're going to do the reversal this time. Charles, we're going to start with you, and we're going to come back around with the questions.
How gracious of you. You're that kind of person, aren't you? Same questions, I've been told. Have you reviewed the current budget and have any suggestions?
No, I don't have specific suggestions. I have reviewed it. I have heard the comparative reports between last year's and this year's. It appears to be the board guidance of Laura Hart and everybody on the board have heard the public's concerns and addressed the public's concerns. I think it's very defensive.
Well, you and I both have the same experiences in Lincoln Parish and the library. As a matter of fact, I'm older than you are, and I remember when we did not have a library, and when one opened on Mississippi, I think,
Alabama.
a little bitty storefront operation. So I've seen, and I've worked in libraries, I've seen a lot of libraries. But what do you see, other than the tax, being the future, or what faces libraries in general?
The world is changing. But to me, what the value of the libraries have been, and I will confess to you that most of my library time as an adult has been in a law library. But a public library offers good things to people. It is one thing to go on the internet and roam around. Sure, you can do that. Although many people don't have internet access in North Louisiana and Lincoln Parish, I can assure you of that. But a library can provide not only accessibility to materials, it can provide focus and guidance to good things.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Amy?
I'm Amy Miller. I don't think I need to introduce myself, but
No, you don't.
the same question to you. Do you have any election campaign experience?
Oh, yes.
I know the answer.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I don't think it's necessary that we run a big, massively financed campaign. But I want to look forward, so I want to be graceful in how I say this. The library can't let itself get in a position where the public doesn't understand what it does and what it's doing financially, as well as what it's actually doing, the task it performs and the services that it offers. So beginning shortly in the heat of the summertime, we're going to have to get our talking points together, and we're going to have to multiply our forces. I love the idea about the book sale. Everybody that comes in here needs to be equipped with a handout to take home with them. Social media as well. We have specifically got to address the business community. My brother and Mike Reed and I started a lumber business in Simsboro in 1979. We ran it. There is no homestead exemption that applies to commercial property. And businesses do bear a large portion of the ad valorem property tax burden. It's a fact. But by the same token, businesses understand that business can't prosper if we don't have a good workforce and we don't have a good, strong community. I believe this library is a part of the economic development plan, like Parish. Should be, always has been. How do we attract people to come here and work? We have to have these kind of public facilities. We have universities, yes. We have public schools, yes. We have to have other things. We have to have a Lincoln Parish Park, for example. We have to have a library. I think the library has a good case to make. We're going to have to go to the business community and make it. In addition to that, we have to go to every group that anybody who supports the library knows of and is a member of. The civic organizations, churches, the universities, Chamber of Commerce, go down the list. And that's what I propose the campaign strategy. There'll be some ads, I'm sure, close to the election. But beginning this summertime, when it's nice and hot and sweaty, that's the only time to have a political campaign. It's when you're just drenched in sweat. That's it's just, it doesn't feel right unless it's like it. But in any event, we've got to build that general awareness in the public of what the library does. And I think we have to build the awareness that we've heard the concerns about the budget. And there's still terrible misconceptions out there in the public about the budget, the payroll, and the staff. We have to correct it. We have to correct it. But we can. I think we will. That was more than you wanted.
All right, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard?
He's answered my question.
I know, I'm just thinking about that. Yeah.
Unless you got something else to add about what we could do.
I don't
think
have
he's gone through
anything.
what we do to sell the campaign. I think he's gone.
The less I say, the better I do.
I think he's answered that.
Okay, Sandra?
If you were selected on the board, what would be your greatest, concern?
I'm going to
In
state
two
the obvious.
sentences.
The first is, we've got to pass this tax measure, or we don't have it. And secondly, as a board member, I would like to help us keep the library in the forefront of people's minds. I don't mean it's the most important thing every day, but in other words, we cannot let those misconceptions be formed in the public's mind through simple ignorance, I mean, honestly. So, look, I don't bring anything to the library board in terms of library skills, okay? I'm not a librarian. I've used them all my life practicing law, but that's a very specialized and very different. I do think I could apply my business experience to help with establishing the board policies that we need to properly manage the library. I've had to construct my own business budgets. I think I can help there. So I guess number one, the election, Sandra. Number two, we should have an ongoing campaign to educate the public about what we do and what's available here. Okay. We need to be intentional about that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Jo?
Well, my question was, how would you work with the board, which I think you have answered, and what would be your connection with the community, which I think going, the outreach, the education is very important. And I do believe that, we have professional librarians on the staff to handle the library. And so I do believe that other skills and connections are important for our board.
Now, Diana Humphreys, that you answered my question immediately, which was why do you want to be part of the library board? And I appreciate your being willing to invest your time and talent.
It would be an honor, and I'd be glad to do it.
Okay.
Bonsi?
And then my question, of course, was how involved would you be willing to be, or could you be outside of just the, board side of things, but, kind of boots on the ground in the library, being a face over there?
I don't think I could offer much help other than manual and actually operating the library. I don't profess to have librarian skills. Okay? I've used them. But what I could do is I do believe I could interface with significant parts of the community to let them know what's here, what we do, and how it's going, and solicit support for the election. business works, okay? When I'm on the board, I don't try to do what the employees do. I don't try to supplant them. I believe that a board of directors, which is what I consider this, sets general policies, supervises, gives guidance and support to the people that know how to do the tasks that need to be done.
Okay, you've answered my question all around too, because I think in all the responses I have had. At this point, I'm going to take and deviate just a little bit. Don't let go.
Okay.
I see we have 3 other significant people in the audience tonight.
Oh.
Say that she's talking about you.
I did say 3 other significant people in the audience tonight. 2 of them are on the police jury, and 1 is a former library board member. I would feel that it would not be right for me to go without asking either one of them if they would like to make a comment or have something to say at this point before we go ahead and vote on our
I'll
application.
start.
Dr. Deborah?
I appreciate both applicants, their love of the library, their interest in the library, their awareness of the importance of the library for this community. I think they both touched on relevance. The library must remain relevant, which involves a lot of technology, digital resources, as well as books. And they both mentioned that and know that that is important. We're trying to stay up with the times. The looming election is on everyone's mind, and I appreciate both of them talking about that, the way that they would contribute their expertise in that area. We're a community that has to have a fantastic library. 2 colleges, 2 universities, all kinds of schools, very educated people. Lincoln Parish is not an ignorant community. We're intelligent, educated people. We need our library. I think it was kind of a fluke that the bill did not pass the last time the election failed. I think there was a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings that's going to be clarified. So I just appreciate them both, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work in the library and with Friends of the Library, and we'll move forward. So, thank y'all.
Thank you, Dr. Howard. Teresa Wyatt?
Well, as all of you know, I'm a person of very little words, which is not true.
That's why we're laughing.
But I agree with what she has said. As a juror, I would like to thank those people who making an effort to make a difference with no pay, but rewards on how the community receives your work and the library work. So thanks for agreeing to serve. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Hilton.
I'd just like to say I appreciate both of the men for coming in. Both of them had valid points, and I feel that both of them are dearly concerned about the library, as we all are, and whomever is selected, I hope they do a fantastic job.
Thank you. Are there any other further comments or anything that anyone would like to say before we go ahead and take our vote? And this is a public meeting, and it's an open meeting. We do open, I'm sorry, Caleb?
Sorry, y'all planning to vote on a recommendation to the police jury tonight?
Yes.
I don't think that's an item on your agenda. You plan to amend the agenda to add that? It just says vacancy interviews.
Oh,
Very
okay.
perceptive.
You are so right about that, Caleb.
I suppose that requires an addition to the agenda. Can we do that?
Yes, we can. We have a motion to amend the agenda to take the vote. And it has to be a 100% kind of a, may I have, I saw a hand up back here. Whose hand was it? Okay.
Did Edward and I, do you want us to excuse ourselves?
The last time we did not, did we?
I think it's both.
It's open.
Okay.
Then I would motion to amend the agenda for this special called meeting to add beneath vacancy interviews, to take action on making a recommendation to fill the vacancy to the police jury.
May I have a second?
I second.
Okay, any discussion from that point on?
I think we're
We have
supposed
to take a vote.
Aye. One.
One, aye.
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 Motion
Marcia,
carried.
that has to be in the minutes as a roll call.
Thank you so very much. And thank you, Caleb. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Good job,
That's all right.
Grasshopper.
I didn't ask Caleb, did he want to ask? Oh. Just being funny. Okay, Caleb, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, and Amy, I'm going to ask you if you would be the record keeper for the,
I would like to make a motion, and before I do so, I want to thank both of the candidates for being here and doing these interviews. Obviously, everybody in this room who's on this board has done these interviews also, and I've done it, I did it twice. Neither time did I get the recommendation. So don't take it, it's not personal or anything like that.
she said that.
But I would like to motion to appoint motion to recommend to the police jury that Bill Jones be appointed to the vacant seat.
Did I hear a second?
I second.
Question?
Okay, the motion's
Discussion?
been seconded, and we can have discussion.
Discussion?
Long history of this man. An admirable man of service to the community. I think for what's pressing us, which is the tax vote, that he would have more connections than Edward. He would have a presence more than Edward as far as the tax vote is concerned. But no offense, Bill, but I see the future of this library beyond the tax vote. I think it's going to pass. We don't seem to yet have the emotion of last year, and hopefully we don't have that. But I think that Edward brings a lot of experience within the library, with technology, with future thinking that Bill may not have. And Bill even said, he doesn't really offer that much within the library. So we have that on the floor to vote, but I don't want to recommend him. I would like to recommend it, Edward. So that's my
So
vote.
you can vote against my motion.
I can.
The way that's,
I
since we have to,
certainly
I think that
can.
might be easier way to do it.
I think so too. Why don't we do it with the open, with everyone's opinion being for your person of recommendation?
I think just vote on my motion,
Yeah.
and if you are, if you agree with my motion, then you say yes, and if you do not, then you would say no.
Okay, we can do it that way.
At the same
I
result.
think we've had a second over here, am I not right? For that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. All in favor of the motion that Amy has put on here for us to go with Bill Jones as being the applicant we recommend?
See what we have going on.
I'm going to go around and everybody get a vote in terms of saying yes or no. Starting off with Charles,
No.
Amy,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Sandra, Mary Jo,
Yes.
Humphries. Clark says yes too. Marcia doesn't vote on this because she's not a board member. Okay? So the vote is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 1? 6 to 1, and with that recommendation then, that we will make to the police jury, that Bill Jones will be the person we nominate for, to replace Dr. Debbie Holland. Do I need to go any further than that?
Amen.
Do they have to now appear before the jury also?
Yes.
Okay. So the jury can also ask additional questions?
Yes.
And do what they want to do?
Yes.
This is simply A recommendation.
Yeah.
Has that been changed?
And like I said too, Amy was so, on target, saying that they did not go with the recommendation, and I think part of it is inside whatever. First of all, I am so impressed with both applicants.
I am
As you
too.
can see, I have been taking all these little notes down here. I've heard what you have said, congratulations to you for having the components, as Judge Judy would say, to come out and apply for this position. Because like Teresa White said, you don't get one red cent, okay? But it's just the time and the effort. Thank you, Edward, we appreciate you. Thank you, Bill, we look forward to being able to, the next board police jury meeting is
June the,
Second Tuesday.
second Tuesday in June. Would you have to come before, you would have to come
She covered it.
June 8th?
Hold on, I'm about to pull it right now.
It's the 8th, yeah.
It's
June
the-
8th?
Yes.
Okay. We will have to see you at the board and, at the police jury meeting and,
7 o'clock out here. in this building.
Yeah, in this area, or we'll be in the front room.
In the big room.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
I motion to adjourn.
That's what I'm trying to get.
Edward, I hope we see you around.
Okay, all in
Don't
favor?
disappear on us, okay?
Opposed is nay?